Okay, good morning, everybody. We are Group 1 and we will be presenting on the concepts of development. What is development? Development is a process through which growth, progress, positive change, or the addition of physical, economic, environmental, social, and demographic components are created. Economic, human, and sustainable development are the main concepts. Brenna?
What is per capita income? Per capita income or average income measures the total income earned from goods and services produced by a country within a year.
Per capita income as a relevant indicator. Per capita income is a relevant indicator of development because it can be used to determine the average per person income for an area, and it can evaluate the living conditions and quality of life of the population. In addition, the most common use of income per capita is to ascertain an area's wealth or lack of wealth. If a country's population has a high per capita income, it is assumed that the country is well off and well developed.
What is internet penetration? Internet penetration is the total percentage of citizens that use the internet in a given country. So these are two reasons why it's a good measure of development. Okay, so internet penetration is a good measure of development because one, it increases one's ability to shop. With more persons having access to the internet, there's a market filled with customers looking for opportunities to spend money, hence increasing online sales. With that said, more large and small businesses will gain profits and so contribute to the economy. Another reason as to why internet penetration is a good measure of development is because it increases one's ability to do their job. The internet provides for faster services and record making, giving companies more time to focus on sales and less time on filing. With more efficiency in the workplace, there is a greater chance of increasing profits, potentially better pay, and increase the standard of living.
All right, very good, very good. So the first thing is that we looked at was development. What is development? But if you're going to the exam, or when you're going to the exam and they ask you about development, just summarize what development is. Anybody from the group? In one sentence. And not all the time we're going to remember everything. What is development?
Okay, so I guess I'll go. Development is growth. Development is, being able to see positive change in the economy and in the environment and on the standard of living of, the citizens of our country.
Very good, very good. That's a good way of defining development. All right, so per capita, when we use the word per capita, what we're talking about?
The total income from goods and services.
Per capita?
Oh, sorry.
Sir, you're just talking about like based on each person in a certain area.
So per capita means per person or each person. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Good. So per capita income would be
how much money each person is making.
So they all right. So if they amount of money each person is making? Well, yes, to some extent. Per capita income. When we talk about per capita income, what are we talking about?
Sir, isn't it just like what Anya said, like the average amount of money that each person makes in like a specific area or region?
Yes, yes, you're correct. Which is one of the indicators. That is one of the indicators of development. Which one of the indicators that would fall under?
Economic.
The economic, very good. Now, we are now looking at per capita income. Do you think that per capita income is a very good or relevant indicator of development?
No, sir.
Well,
Because okay, from my understanding, because like based on what Shanae said too, is like the average amount each person supposedly makes in the country.
yeah,
But just because that's the estimated average amount for the person doesn't mean that that's how much money they actually make.
correct, very good,
I don't
perfect.
think it would be a good indicator or the best indicator per se.
Best indicator, yes. You can use it as an indicator, but it is not, it doesn't give the true reflection. Let us look at this. The per capita income in Jamaica, they say the average income in Jamaica is 5,250 US for the year. So the US is now about 150 times 5,250 times 150. 5,250 times 150. What would be the annual income, average income in Jamaica?
$787,500.
So it would be around 787,000. So that is for the year. That would be the annual income for the year.
Sir, but didn't per capita raise though from 5,000?
5,000?
Didn't it go up from since then, sir?
No.
Per
You
capita
have a
is
new
in,
figure. That's the figure I'm seeing. The new figure that was published.
oh,
So you said 5,250?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's what I did.
It could be that it gone up. What would be the so 5,250 times 150? You divide that amount by, so which is 787,500. Divide that by 12.
Sir, 65,625.
Everybody in the country making 65,000.
No, sir.
That's the average income that is projected for Jamaica. The figures could be a little higher, but not everybody making 65,000.
And not everybody who, is in the category is employed, even making it even worse.
Very good. That is very good. That's critical thinking. Very good, Anya. So not everybody makes 65,000 a month. You have some people are making way more than 65,000, correct?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you have some people that makes 3 million a month in Jamaica. If one of you should become the principal of UII, the principal of UII makes 3.5 million a month. If you have some private sector jobs, like if you are the if you work at the Bank of Jamaica, and if you work at certain what you call the next one? With that bank name, Scotia Bank and NCB, their executives, bank executives, they are taking home more than 3 million a month. Correct? But why we are interested in that it doesn't give a true reflection of the real salary, we have to be very people-centric. So we have to look at the poorest in the society. What is the minimum wage in Jamaica? How much per week?
So is it 7,000?
So 7,500 times that by 4. $7,500 multiplied by 4 weeks. What's the average income of the minimum wage earners in Jamaica? Those who clean the school.
30,000.
How much?
30,000.
30,000 per month. But they say that our average is 66,000. So one, it doesn't take into consideration those who earn minimum wage. In fact, it disguises the inequalities in the society, because there are some people in the society who is making way more money than others. And it is saying that the average income is 65,000 a month. But in reality, a minimum wage earner takes home almost, well, 32,000. And the minimum wage earners make up the majority of the population. In addition, there are persons who are not employed, which is what Anya would have mentioned. But is it only the unemployed that, because they said it is divided by the population, so that means the average income takes into consideration the entire population. Is everybody in the population employed? No. So what are the other groups that not making money in the society?
So retired people and children.
Retired people, the children, yes. So they are not making any money. They?
The homeless.
The homeless, yes. And it doesn't take into consideration those people. And so, while we agree that there are several weaknesses in using per capita income, or per capita GDP, or per capita GNP, anyone you want to look are using the economic indicators on a whole. Why is it using per capita income relevant? Why you think, it must be a plus or a positive, it must be a benefit in using per capita income.
So it reflects the standard of living.
It reflects the standard of living, but we just argue that it doesn't reflect the true conditions on the ground. But there's benefit. in
Sir,
using.
would it be possible that it could kind of show how wealthy a country is by that estimated per capita thing? Because if you look at other countries and
Mhm.
they say each person hypothetically makes like $100,000 a month
Yeah,
versus another country that their rate for each person is like $30,000 a month. It could kind of give you a better indication of how well off they are, how developed they are in that kind of sense. I don't know, but that's the only thing that came to my mind.
that is true. That is correct. Yes. So it is an indication to show that some countries are wealthier in terms of their productivity, but also it another pro is that it basically standardizes the income levels of countries. So it gives you while it doesn't give a true reflection, it gives you an idea or an indicator of what it is or close to it. So there's pro in using it. All right. Thank you very much, group one, group two.
They're coming, sir.
Okay.
So today, group two will be presenting on economic development, and we got questions 7 to 10. Jade?
What is economic development? Economic development is a process of whereby simple, low-income national economies are transformed into modern industrial economies. Countries are trying to find ways to better their economy so that citizens are not living in poverty and are able to get jobs and resources.
One indicator of economic development. So an indicator of economic development is the gross domestic product, GDP. And the GDP is the final value of the goods and services produced within the geographic boundaries of a country during a specified period of time, normally a year. So how does GDP influence sustainable development? So the GDP has both positive and negative influences on sustainable development. Many economists have argued that economic indicators such as GDP will lead to an improvement in the environment. However, the more consumption and use of national capital resources, the more environmental degradation and exhaustion. For example, China has a high level of factories which are used to produce their goods. Though this can help to bring up their GDP, which will in turn positively affect sustainable development, it also brings pollution, which will negatively affect the environment future generations live in. Why is population growth an indicator of economic development? Economic development is measured using the GNP, gross national product, which indicates the average income of citizens in a country by calculating the value of output produced by a country plus any income obtained from abroad. If the population increases at a rate greater than the rate increase in the production of goods and services, more people will lack access to basic resources, meaning the lower a nation's GDP, the shorter the doubling time of its population, which implies a high rate of population growth. In essence, population growth stands as a key indicator of economic growth, as it usually means if a country can keep its growth rate down, then its per capita income should rise. Why can economic growth indicators provide only a limited understanding of development? One reason economic growth indicators only provide a limited understanding is because they hardly stay constant. They are used per annum to tell where a country is economically and can change. And that's the end of our presentation.
So, one of the in one line, how would you define economic development? One line.
Sir.
Go ahead.
So I would define economic development as basically the way how a country improves like the quality of life for their people. And so that would include things like, economic growth, like we said before, ensuring things like sustainable development, and just making sure that the people are just taking care of like the social well-being of the people.
All right, very good attempt, and it is correct, but there's something else about economic development. You're correct. There's one way. Say mention economic, you mention improvement. These are some of the terms I can pull out here definition. But there's something that you need to do in order to develop economically.
What, sir? Is that the production of goods?
So production of goods is one, yes. So any form of economic activities. So that economic development basically saying here that the development of increasing economic activities would lead or would result in development. So just a simple layman definition, increasing economic activities, I believe that's the same term that the textbook would have used, that by increasing economic activities, you will result in the country being developed. So you increase, very good, you said the production of goods. If you increase economic activity in production of goods, then you could get investment, jobs would be created, you have a lot of creation of jobs that would improve your GDP, your GNP, and your income overall. You following? So that is one. So this idea of economic development is that if you increase economic activities in a country, then that would result in the standard of living of the people improving. So you have to increase economic activity to see it reflects in people's life. It's like today people say if you make a lot of money, if you increase the salary, then you could see some form of development. It could, you could see a standard of living increase. Could be a fact. Could be. Another one is explain one indicator of economic development. So there's several different indicators of economic development. What are the different indicators?
GDP.
So GDP, how do you calculate GDP? Which is gross domestic product. How do you calculate a GDP in a country? So that is one, GDP. How do you calculate?
Is it the measurement?
Measurement of what?
The total value of the output of goods in the country for the year.
Yes. So the GDP is the total value of goods and services, because remember that production doesn't always include goods alone, it also includes services. So it is total value of goods and services produced in a country in a year. So that is GDP. So GNP, what is GNP?
The
Gross
gross
national product.
And they changed the name from gross national product to what? What's the new name for GNP? Gross national income, which is GNI. All right. So what is the gross national product, or the GNI? How do you calculate that? Remember, GDP is all the goods and services produced in a country, the total value over year. What is the GNP?
Sorry, the value of the goods and the services plus the foreign revenue for the year in a country.
Very good. So it is plus foreign revenue, perfect. And if so, all the different revenues from overseas, whether through Jamaican businesses or through remittances, all of that money is calculated as part of our GNP. So GDP is only taking into account what is going on in the country, the money that is the value of the goods and services in the country, while the GNP is in the country plus overseas. All right. So one economic indicator is gross domestic product. The next one is gross national product, or the GNI. And another indicator which other indicator we have?
Per capita income, sir.
Per capita is one, per capita, which is per capita. Per capita is one, which is what we use. Another one.
Sorry, the age dependency ratio.
Dependency ratio, yes. Another one. Gini coefficient. So Gini coefficient, so this measures the inequality in the society. All right. So these are some examples of economic indicators of development. The economic indicators. Now we know for sure that anytime you see per capita, so per capita income is also so per capita is person. So what they do in calculating the per capita income is that they divide the gross national income or the gross national product, the GNP, and you divide that by the population to get the per capita income or the per capita GNP, right? And also you have per capita gross domestic product, which is gross domestic product divided by gross domestic by the population of a country. Following?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. The next one, Explain why population growth rate is an indicator of economic development. Why growing the population indicates that you are developing economically. Isn't it that sometimes you hear in Jamaica that a lot of people having children and they can't afford it, and it is causing the country to be impoverished and crime. So people should have less children. So how is it that population growth, the only way your population can grow is by having children? So how is it population growth an indication or indicator of development?
Sir, does it have to do with the labor force? An increase in labor force?
Yes. So the more population you have, you can have more workers, but not only more workers, they can have what else? Larger countries like the US with 200.
There are more businesses.
So you have more businesses and more opportunities, economic opportunity. You have a larger market to sell your goods. So why is it that they encourage us here in the developing countries to reduce our population?
Sir, maybe it's because I guess at this point, well, we can't really afford it, and that's not really, or that's kind of their fault, you know. Because I mean, the reason why we're unable to do the things that they're doing is because they colonized us and took all of our money, and so we're unable to develop and become as modernized as they did. So we can't really adapt to the Western standards of like development as easily as, you know.
That is true. Yes, I agree. All right. The next question. So give one reason why economic growth indicators can provide only a limited understanding of development. Why using economic growth as an indicator, any economic indicators, how is that limits our understanding of development?
Sir, I guess because there are a whole bunch of different ways to measure development, and economic indicators, they don't give you any insight into the quality of life of a group of people, because you can see a country that has a low GDP or something like that, and yet still they have a high quality of life, and that is an indicator of development. So it doesn't take into account a lot of things, like sometimes it doesn't take into account standard of living or the happiness of the people in the nation.
Thank you very much. Good. All right. Just another from group one, I think I didn't touch on this, internet penetration. Internet penetration, if we look in the Caribbean, internet penetration in Jamaica is roughly, just the figures, let us start from Anguilla. Anguilla internet penetration is 90.4% of the country. Antigua 80.8, Aruba 97, Bahamas 86, Barbados 81, the BVI 82, the Cayman Islands 88, Cuba 58, Jamaica 53, Montserrat 60, St. Kitts 84, St. Lucia 77, St. Vincent 69, Trinidad 75, Turks and Caicos 73, and the Virgin Islands 64. I'm not seeing the figure here for 80. 80 is 31. That's the internet penetration. So in the Caribbean, Jamaica has the second lowest penetration when it comes to internet. And so the question asks, state 2 reasons why internet penetration is a good measure of development. Use the COVID situation that we're going through. How internet penetration indicates to us if a country is developed or not.
Sir?
Go ahead.
Maybe because like when it comes to the internet, we know that that's like a big source of where most people get their information. So when it comes to internet penetration, it would aid in education. And so that is a big thing when it comes to development education. So maybe that's where it comes in.
Yes, that is true. So, but when we look at as the group member, the group that presented on this would have mentioned that for internet penetration, when you look at internet penetration, it also reflects productivity because people use the internet to produce goods and services, especially when we come to e-commerce, where people is doing a lot of business online. And with e-commerce that is taking place now, and the entire world is going online when it comes to business, if we are not having penetration when it comes to the internet across the entire country, then that can limit individuals in the country having access to certain businesses. Right now, a lot of the different companies in the utilities companies telling you that you need to pay your bill online or encouraging us to pay our bill. Now we have internet banking. If you have internet, if you don't have good internet, quality internet, or people are excluded from having internet, then one, it is going to be very difficult for people to pay their bills, right? And you can't live in a developed country where you have to leave from the top of Blue Mountain to go to Port, what you call that town? Port Antonio, to go to an internet cafe to pay your bills and to do all of these different stuff. Right now in Black River, JPS would have removed their office there. So the older people now having issues. Some people saying that they don't have internet at home to pay their bills online. The same for Westmoreland, JPS would have removed their office. And in Portmore, they said that they are going to remove it. I'm not sure if they remove it as yet. And last week on the news, or 2 weeks ago, people were actually protesting against that move. So, and then when we also look at internet penetration, while most of the figure in Jamaica centers around the urban area, there are people in Kingston who they don't have access to the internet. And the internet is very expensive, especially you look at how much money you spend on data. I don't know how people do it by going around. You have internet home, and then you're paying for data. I can't do it. I will not do it. I don't have all of that money to give to a telephone company. So once I am out, if there's no internet, once I leave home, I have no access to the internet. I'm not putting on data. Anybody want to talk to me, wait until I reach home. Or reach somewhere where I have access to the internet. I not even have a phone. And so internet penetration or access to the internet is now an indicator of development. And as I said to the other class, E1 earlier, I said, when I was in the Cayman Islands, I used to go in the town and just sit anywhere in the town, and I was able to access the internet free. I never had to pay for it. And even in Jamaica, where they are trying because they say that they have internet on the bus and they have internet in some of the parks. When you go when you go on the bus and the park to use the internet is terrible. The quality is horrible. So we still have to improve our access to the internet. All right, so we can, especially for people living in rural areas, the rural parts of Jamaica, they are so excluded from having access to the internet, and it is so expensive for them, especially when it comes to like the online schooling now, the virtual classroom. It is so some of you here might have direct access to the internet where you pay just a monthly fee. But there are other students that they have to use data to come to the class. So right now I am on Zoom. The worst thing is to use data with Zoom. Just imagine the amount of money that they are spending every week for the internet just to access class. All right. So when we return, so tomorrow, which is Tuesday, you're going to do the activity in the Google Classroom. Please read the textbook on development. It is about three, what you call it now, about 4 to 5 pages. So read on development and indicators of development. And when we return on Wednesday, we are going to continue the presentation. All right, ladies, enjoy the rest of the day.
Same to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Gilbert, for participating. And Anya.